Good morning. So we're here on the last day of our 9-day guitar build workshop here, and I figured it would be fun to just take you guys along for the ride for a variety of the steps that we'll be going through and perhaps learn a thing or two. Alright, so here we have Mike, and just out of the camera frame here is Tom, who you'll see later on. And what we're doing right now is deburring the fret ends. So they have a special file that they're rolling, just grazing across the end there. And here, can I see that file for just 1 second, Mike? Thank you. It's this StewMac fret end file, something like that. And it's a special purpose-made file with the teeth on the wide face and no teeth, a smooth contoured surface on the edges so that it won't indent into the ebony of your fretboard as you're making these cuts here. So here you go, and it's just a simple swooping motion, less is more. Again, we're just deburring the edges, we're not shaping them or beveling them. That was done yesterday, actually. So let's check out what Tom is doing over here. Here's Tom. Say hello, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
He's very literal. He's been like this all week, actually. No, I'm just kidding. And so he's just now getting the pesky fret ends that are over the body. They're always a little more difficult to reach. All right, so as you can see, Tom is just doing a light, airy motion, rotating the file to follow the crown of the fret. Alright, so now we are going to be rubbing the whole board down. Let me just see this for a moment. Rubbing the whole board down with 4-aught steel wool. And so you can literally get everything here. The top face, we want to get the board itself, the ebony of the board. We want to get the fret wire. We want to get the fret ends. When we get the fret ends, that's just going to smooth out the work we did with the deburring file even further, and it's going to kind of make it shine a little bit too on those ends. It's going to look a little nicer as well. I always like to say we're just going to wipe here until the steel wool ball just disintegrates in your hands. So that's how long we'll be doing this. It actually doesn't take that long for this thing to disintegrate in your hands, probably about 5 minutes. When you're working over here, just make sure that your fingers aren't digging down into the spruce there. But if this overhangs a little bit and gently touches the spruce, that doesn't matter. Just don't wrap your thumb around and dig into it. And we're going to make a nice mess of steel wool fibers everywhere. Some of them are going to get in there as well. Sometimes I put a piece of tape over the hole here, but it's not a big deal. We don't need to do that. Okay, yep. I'm going to give that a go. And by the way, you're going to notice that, you're probably already noticing on Tom's because I already did some work on his, that the gold color of the Evo Gold actually kind of goes away. It looks a little chromy. Mm-hmm. First time I used this fretware, I was disappointed by that, but actually the gold color comes back. I'm not sure how that works. It like oxidizes with the air or something like that, but after a day or maybe 2 days, it's full gold again. So you're not rubbing off the gold right now. All right, I don't think there's anything left of those.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Steel wool balls.
Yeah.
That's a tiny high crown right there. Because I just pulled it off, but there was a fiber of steel wool clinging to the underside of the crown right there. So it's fine, but I'm just pointing that out. That would be one where you might actually feel the underside of the crown. At the very edge, they tend to lift slightly anyway. There's almost an unavoidable amount of lift that you can get at the edge, and the reason for that, if you think about it, you have your fret tang, which has studs, little barbs in it that bite into the wood, and those barbs are at a certain distance from each other on the fret wire. And so because when we cut them, we just cut them on the basis of the width of the fretboard in that place. But that means on any given fret, you're going to end up with a barb that's either, the last barb either lands right at the edge, or there's a space between the barbs at the edge. And so that's where it can lift a little bit on the ends. It's almost more of an aesthetic thing, though, because you're so close to the edge, though, that the string doesn't actually reach that point. But that's one of the reasons why people do glue in their frets, either with CA or tight bond or whatever they use. What we're first going to do is just sand flat down to the top line, and then we're going to contour it on the radius beams after the fact. So, and you can go right into that pencil line. You don't have to be afraid of the pencil line. Remember, we built in, it's a high pencil line to begin with. So it's not a something you really have to worry about creeping up on. You can bite into that pencil line. And you can just rock this back and forth with your finger as you turn it until you're right down to the line. And then I'll show you what we're going to do when we get over to the radius beam. That's black super glue used as a gap filler. Hitting it with accelerator. Come off the edge, and then this way likewise come off the edge, like you're sharpening it. It'll naturally round itself a little bit, which is what we want, but if you explicitly roll over it, if you intentionally roll over it, you'll over round it and it just won't look as good as if you come off of it. And it doesn't need much. We're just softening those edges. Oh, those are Goto 510 minis in Cosmo Black. I'm going to pull this over while we're talking. Goto 510 minis, and so they have an 18:1 tuning ratio. So what that means is 18 turns of the knob gives you one full rotation of the tuner post. So the higher the tuning ratio, the more precision you have. So generally people like to have a higher ratio, like 18:1. 21:1 is the highest I've heard of, aside from the Steinberger, is it Steinberger or Steinberger? Gearless tuners. And those have a 40:1 ratio, although technically they don't have any gears, so it's not really a ratio. But they have the most precision. Planetary tuners, which are basically like if you've ever used cheap ukulele tuners, those tend to be 4:1, so very imprecise but very fast. That's why sometimes you're tuning up a ukulele or something like that, and it's really hard to land on that correct tuning because you tend to shoot way up, boing, and then whoing, so you keep overcorrecting in both directions. So the 18:1 is actually really nice. I used to do these in gold to match the Evo Gold fret wire, but I found this new color they have called Cosmo Black. It almost looks like it has a little bit of gold in it, but also a metallic black color. And it just looks really slick. So what we're doing is reaming the tuner holes to fit with this guy right here. So we're going to pull this out of the way, bring the guitar down onto the mat again. And actually, I'm sorry, before you bring yours down, he cleaned his up and we forgot to clean yours up, so we're going to just vac this real quick. Okay. So I would hang that again, just so that at this point we can stay clean. It's safe to leave them in. Okay. Yeah, we'll just leave them in.
Yep.
Okay, that sound you hear in the background is Tom and Mike routing their saddle slots. So we'll go take a look what they're doing over here. And so they're going down in increments. So right now he's setting up for the next pass with a very thin feeler gauge, because ebony is a very hard wood. Using a StewMac saddle rounding jig.
Maybe. Just a hair.
Instead of holding down the trigger the whole time,
Yeah.
you pump it a little bit, and then you have to remove the dust, and then you pump it again. Because it's just sitting there rotating on dust.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to frequently...
Change. Stop a little more often.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Mike, why don't you tell us what you're doing there?
I am reaming the hole for the bridge pins to fit into.
Yep. So he's putting the taper into those bridge pin holes to match the taper of the bridge pins, which is 3 degrees. Oh, yeah. Here, Michael and Tom are just getting started roughing in the nut slots. Later on we're going to finalize them over the guitar body, but for now they're just starting their angled cuts, which will peak at the front edge of the nut. So you can see that angle right there. Very good. A quiet bunch, but I make them nervous with the camera. So that's why. Alright, it's working. So, we just want these tight enough to hold the nut down, basically act as a clamp. Oops, turning the wrong way. Okay, and we're going to loosen up the first one. In this case, the 6th ring. And can we switch chairs just for a moment? I'm going to take the taller one. Thank you. If you guys want to move to this side,
Yeah.
that would be much better. I have my back to you. And so from here on, we're going to be using that feeler gauge set and holding it, like I was saying before, with a little bit of flex to get it down to the radius, but not so much that it creates its own new radius, right? So just gentle pressure, holding that in place. One little small detail is I always like a decent, like this 17 is really good, a decent, substantial feeler gauge on the top, because sometimes if you have like the 7/1000 of an inch or just a really wimpy thin one, it kind of flails about. So I want something more substantial. Okay, and that's just easier to deal with. Alright, so now I'm going to cut right down to the metal. I don't want to actually rely on the metal and cut into the metal, meaning I don't want to wait for the metal for the file to hit the metal. Although with the really big files, you can actually, if you go too far, if you hit the metal, you'll kind of feel it. It'll grind to a stop. But again, you don't want to rely on that. One, I don't want a bunch of marks on my feeler gauges, but also you can still go a little bit too far by doing that. And certainly with the smaller ones, you won't even feel the feeler gauge set. So we are still watching, but I'm going to show you a really cool trick to essentially double your vision. Magnify your ability to see very small things. And I just want to get this a little closer before I show you this. It's actually pretty cool. Come to a firm stop. Okay. Alright, so I think that's a good spot to just show you this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw you this actually. So, one thing that I really love about using this feeler gauge method is the fact that we're using metal feeler gauges, because I can simply take my finger and just rub it like that, just for a second, like that, and it makes the metal kind of shiny. Also, the bone dust as I'm cutting collects on the metal, so I just want to rub it off with my finger and sight down it like this. And when I do that, what I see is a reflection of the nut slot. So if this is the metal, let's just say that that is the metal surface, that line, and this is the nut slot that you're looking at. And it's kind of hard when you're just looking at this and straining with your eyes to see this amount. That's what we're trying to remove, right? Because we want the nut slot to touch, to basically just sneak right up to the metal. But because we have that reflection that we've just rubbed onto there, what we get is a another nut slot coming up from the bottom, which essentially doubles that bridge of material that's left over that you're looking at.
Yeah.
It truly makes it easier to see. So in the end, what we actually want then is something like that, okay? And in reality, I'd prefer if you stop just a hair short, right? Because we don't want to go too far, so it might be more like that, right? But we want to just sneak up and get these two U's, the right side up one and the upside down one, to just kiss in the middle. Okay? You know you've gone too far, which we don't even want to go there, if it looks something like that. See what I mean?
Yeah.
X. Bad. No Tom. Do that again. Okay. So we want that. Check. So that's, you know, that's on paper there. Now I want you guys to see this. So one at a time, you're gonna sit in the hot seat here and hold this up like this, and don't look at it like this. You have to get down low like this, and before you do it, just give that little rub, and then look at it at a low angle like that. Basically rest your cheek on the fretboard. So to press it down,
Hold it like that.
yeah, that's the way to hold it. And then rest your cheek on the fretboard.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
See that?
Trouble
Tom?
is with these, when you go sideways, fucks up your vision. But
Oh,
yeah.
when you come back up then?
Well,
You're
no,
kind
because
of disoriented?
because they're designed to look straight through. You're going like this, and then your eyes looking through the glasses at a different angle.
Right.
So you can't turn around with these and look behind you. You're all screwed. But I saw it.
So you're looking for that bridge of material that's between the two notches.
Yes. Yeah. You could see that there was material there. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I can listen to the guitar resonate too.
Yeah, you can speak into the
Hello?
sound hole.
Hello?
It'll speak back to you. All right, this is the moment right here. Well, we just missed the moment. This is about 2 minutes after the moment when they were first strung up. And then you can play whatever. Nice. That was beautiful.
If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaeferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.